Welcome. It's a great pleasure to have you here at another session of our Encontros de Formação. Today's session is very relevant to us as teachers and to our learners. And the session's name is Storytelling as a Tool for Language Learning. So besides having a very interesting session, it is a great honor to be able to present our speaker today, who has ample experience with learners of all ages and special studies in the field of storytelling for young learners. So without any further ado, I'd like to present you to Fernanda Vicente.
Thank you so much, Nancy. It's a great honor for me to be here as well. It's nice to see you all. Thank you for being here. I know that your days must be actually pretty busy now if the school's back to face-to-face classes and this whole new reality for us teachers, for the students. So thank you so much for taking your time to be here with us. We really hope that you have a good time and that you take something from here, okay? So, like Nancy said, let me just, oops. Oh my God, just a second, sorry. Here, okay. The name of the session today is Storytelling as a Tool for Language Learning. So we're gonna be talking about storytelling, about the importance of stories in the for children. And before we start, I would like you to share with us here in the chat box, if there's any story that you remember from your childhood, a story that maybe a teacher told you when you were kids, or a member of your family, or a book that you read that you remember, okay, that stuck in your memory. So please make your contributions here in the chat box. You can write the name of the story in Portuguese, okay? If you don't know the name in English, or if it's a Brazilian story. So can you do that, please? I'm gonna give you some time. Snow White, Rafa, you got mine. Snow White was my favorite story. Yeah.
I loved it. I loved it.
Me too. The Little Train That Could. Oh, nice. I don't know that story. I want to read that. Let's wait for more contributions. It's okay, Isabella. You can write the name of the story. Okay, no problem. The Bluebird of Happiness. Oh, wow. I don't know that either. A Galinha Ruiva. Wow. That's nice. That's nice. Let's see if we have any others. I remember I have great memories of my mother telling stories for my sister and I. She would read The Little Prince for us a lot. I love that story as well. So you see that whenever we talk about stories and we think of stories that we heard or watched or read when we were kids, there's always something we learn from the story. Yeah, stories teach us values. They teach us how things work in real life. Yes, and language is also something that we can learn from stories. And this is what we're going to be discussing today. Okay, if you have any questions, I'll ask you to make your contributions here in the chat box. Okay, and then we can either answer them later. If it's something we can interrupt in the middle of the session, I will. Okay, so to help our discussion today, I brought to you two authors that I really like and admire, that are specialists in young learner teaching. Okay. One of them is Carol Reed, and I brought a quote from her to share with you today, and I'm going to give you some time to read it. And I would like you to make more contributions in the chat box. So after you read the quote, I'd like you to choose one word that caught your attention, a key word that you take from this quote, okay? You can write it in the chat box as well. I can see some contributions here. Relevant, spontaneous, heart and mind. Nice. Very nice. Thank you. Thank you. If you want to take a picture, okay, feel free to take pictures of the slides. Okay, and then also I'd like to share a quote from Lynn Cameron. Okay, I don't know if I told you their names. Well, this is Carol Reed. Okay, I was so excited about talking about them that I forgot to say their names. So this is Carol Reed. Okay, she is an amazing storyteller. Okay, and this is something really important for you to. This quote is really important to start our discussion. Nancy, I think you have something to say. No, okay, sorry. Because you opened your microphone, I thought. Okay, and then by Lynn Cameron, we have this quote here, okay? Nancy, can you read it for us? Because Nancy has the best English I've ever heard, okay? So that's why I always ask her to read. So Nancy, if you could, please.
Bringing the world into the classroom by using stories and themes creates different demands for the foreign language teacher. The teacher has to work from the theme.
Yeah.
The teacher has to work from the theme or story to make the content accessible to learners and to construct activities that offer language learning opportunities. And in doing so, needs many of the skills and language knowledge of textbook writers.
Thank you so much. So you see that choosing a story to work with our students, it's not a simple task. It's something that we really have to think, put some thought on, and think carefully about what we're going to do with that, how we're going to choose a story. So my idea is that you leave this session today finding this task easier, okay? Feeling more comfortable about choosing a story and choosing tasks to do with the story you choose to work in class, okay? So first, Lynn Cameron suggests a few things that we have to consider and observe in a story in order to understand to evaluate actually the quality of a story. So first, they need to have characters and a plot that engages the students, okay, that engage students. They need to be engaged. They need to be interested in the story. They need to have a convincing and satisfying closure, especially with the little ones, because they're still not prepared for dealing with a sad ending, with sad stories. So we need to have a satisfying closure so that they feel safe while reading the story. They don't feel afraid or scared. They need to be able to enter the imaginative world, that the story creates. And this is also something we get from the story, but you will see it as we discuss here. It is also something that we, as the storytellers, can help. Okay, we can promote that. And the story also needs to have the potential to capture their students' interest and their motivation to learn. Like I said, it is also a tool for language learning. So by reading or telling a story in English, we really believe that students will be more motivated and interested in learning the language. And besides that, how we are going to choose the story? What are the things that we have to take into consideration? What are important things we have to find in a story so that it fits our classroom, our objectives with our students? So first, we have to decide if we are going to use real books or specially written ones. So Lynn Cameron says that in the 70s and in the 80s, there was a movement of authors who started writing books that were specially written for children, okay? And we can see that these books, they are a lot more effective with students, especially foreign language learners, okay? Because they are colorful, they have pictures, they have values that are present there that we can teach our students. They have simple storylines which help students follow the story, okay? But so it's not that we cannot use the real books, but as we have these ones that are specially written, they are better, they're easier for the teacher to use because they are written with that purpose in mind, okay? If you choose to use the real books, be sure to think about all these characteristics that I mentioned. If they are colorful, if there are pictures students can refer to, if the values are okay, if the storyline is simple enough for them to follow, okay? So this is something we have to, the first thing we have to consider when choosing a story. Then we have to observe, to analyze the content of the story. If the characters are interesting for children, that they can empathize with the characters, that they can feel represented by the characters. If the plot is clear, because the plot has to be clear, with a surprise or a twist at the end, because they do love that. If the story is the same throughout the whole, if the storyline is the same throughout the whole story, they will get bored, they won't be interested in reading it. So it has to be safe and comfortable, but they need to have this surprise element at the end. And also, if you choose a storybook, or if you're retelling a story only by using pictures, if you have a story in which pictures are essential for students to follow the story, make sure that you have pictures that are big enough for all the students to see, so that they all feel part of that moment. If you have small pictures and they are really essential for the story for the students to follow the story, then some of them won't be actually following, then they will get distracted, and then you will lose them, okay? Because the storytelling moment is a moment in which students will eventually get distracted a little bit. Yeah, you may have some students that will stand up and walk around, and what we have to do is to pay attention. If they are walking around because they need to move to pay attention, because sometimes they do, or if they are just moving because they are distracted and they are not paying more attention to the story, and then we have to find ways to call them back. Okay, but make sure they feel comfortable during this moment. Then Lynn also suggests that we ask ourselves this question: are the values and attitudes embodied in the story acceptable? Because stories, they can help children feel more positive about other countries and cultures. It can help them broaden their knowledge of the world. So we need to consider that. And something that I believe it's very important that Celine always also says is that we have to be careful with classical stories from the past, because our values change. The way we see the world changes. So we have to be really careful if the values, if the things they say in the story are still acceptable in our world nowadays. Yeah, I remember there was a big discussion about, I don't know if you remember, about Tia Anastácia in Sítio do Pica-Pau Amarelo. Do you remember that? Yeah, so this is something we have to consider whenever we are choosing a story in English as well, okay? Because stories from different times, they might be a little different from what we want our students to, our children actually, to listen and eventually repeat, because they repeat everything they listen. Yeah. Then the discourse. How is the discourse organized? A good organization of a story for children should start with the description of the characters, because this is the moment in which they're going to empathize and feel represented by the characters, get connected to the characters. Then the plot. Yeah, that should start with the initial formulation of a problem, so that they see that something is going to happen then a series of linked events. So this is how the story will develop, and a resolution in the end. Again, a positive one, okay? And also the element of surprise that should always be there. The next, what is the balance of dialogue and narrative? We need to have the two things present in the story. One, because it doesn't get boring, let's say. It gets more dynamic when we have narrative and dialogue in the same story. And also, if we think about second language teaching, students will benefit from both types of discourse, okay? With dialogues, they have a chance to act it out, to role play, to see some dialogues that they can repeat. And with narrative, we know that in stories for kids, the narrative is very repetitive. So they will see patterns of language that they can actually repeat and learn as simple chunks that they can use, okay? Which also leads us to how language is used, because this is something we have to consider, especially if we want when we choose a story for different levels, for students who are, for very young learners, for students who are in maybe Fundamental 1, Fundamental 2, or even Ensino Médio, yeah, because we can use storytelling for the teenagers as well. And then how the language is used is going to be something really important to consider when we choose the story for these different levels. With the little ones, something that is more repetitive, something that they can memorize, that they can say, that they can repeat. With the older ones, maybe a little bit more challenging, something that will have them interested in understanding. So how the language is used is also something we have to consider. And what new language is used. And that will depend on the objective that we as teachers have with the storytelling moment. Do we want our students to revisit language that they have already learned? Or do we want them to learn new language? We want them to learn new words, new structures. So we have to read the story carefully and think about the language that is there, so that it matches, it fits our objective with the story. So far, so good. Do you have any questions, any comments about this so far? No? Okay. So let's move on. And then
I do, Fernanda, sorry.
Oh, okay. No, don't be sorry, please.
Excuse me.
Sure.
So when you were saying about the content of the stories, I remember that last week I was trying to find a story, a book about family, because the unit's about family. And then I had an issue because in that book, they were talking about families that had 2 fathers and 2 mothers.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually thought about, I know it's a kind of, it's a kind of hard to talk about that, because nowadays we need to take care of that, because people, especially parents, they may take it the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave up on that story and I found another one.
Mm-hmm.
Not because the content was, old or, sometimes it can be racist. Depends on the time the book was written. But I actually thought about it, and you said just like that.
Yeah, absolutely, Winnie. Especially depending on the age of the student, sometimes having a topic like this is dangerous. Yeah, if they're too young, maybe they're not prepared for this discussion yet. It also depends on the place we are, on the school we are teaching. So all of these things we have to consider. Thank you. That's true. Yeah. All right. And then we have chosen the story. We have the perfect story that we want to tell our students. Our next step is to think about the tasks that we are going to do with students after they read, listen, or watch the story. Yeah. And here we have another quote by Lynn Cameron. Nancy, would you be so kind and read this to us again?
Sure. Listening to the teacher read or tell a story is a useful language learning activity at any age. Using storybooks does not have to be about teaching reading. Listening to a story practices the ability to hold in mind the meaning of an extended piece of spoken discourse.
Thank you.
That's so wonderful what she says, being hold in the mind so you can follow the story.
Yes, it is. It is really beautiful. And I think it's really nice because whenever we think about storytelling, we think about reading. It's immediate. Yes, we think about storytelling, we think about reading, or we think about listening skills. And it's not only that, we are, of course, going to develop listening and reading skills, but there's so much more that we can do. Yeah. So whenever you are thinking and designing the tasks for a storytelling moment, there are 3 steps that we should consider, that we should have in mind. First, the preparation activity. So before we even start telling the story, we need to prepare students for this moment. And I think Nancy will agree with me here. It's not just a preparation in terms of language, but a preparation in terms of space, in terms of mood. Yeah, because students are usually very active, so we have to do something so that they can lower their anxiety and energy, keep them calm and comfortable, maybe dim the lights, yeah, turn on flashlights and make it more comfortable for them, or cozy. So you can even create a routine for storytelling moments with your students, you know, and then you just say, okay, storytelling moments, and they know what they have to do to prepare. They can help you prepare the classroom. You can have a different space. Use a corner of the classroom that you're going to use for the storytelling moment. Make it an important moment. Make it a moment that they're going to look forward to, okay? And then once you have them all prepared, the space and everything, prepare them for the story. So you can brainstorm vocabulary, you can show pictures related to the story, you can show the cover of the book and have them imagine what's going to happen, elicit things from students. And at this point, especially if we think about young learners or very young learners, when we elicit, when we ask them to imagine, they are going to use L1. They are going to use Portuguese. And we should let them, because we don't want them to feel afraid of, and then they won't contribute because they don't know how to do that in English. So let them contribute in Portuguese, but then to keep the English speaking atmosphere, we can use recasting. Are you all familiar with recasting here? Well, if you are not, I can tell you what it is. Recasting is a technique to help students use English, even if it's a more complex structure, something they haven't learned yet. So for example, if you show a picture of a storybook and you ask them, oh, what do you think is going to happen? And they say, eu acho que a menina vai entrar na floresta. And then you say, oh, okay, so she's going into the woods. Repeat. And then, she's going into the woods. So we make it as simple as possible so that it's something that they can repeat. And then we don't move on until they repeat that sentence in English. Okay, sometimes they come up with a whole story and then we just make things simpler so that they don't have to repeat a whole paragraph in English. Okay, so first we have this preparation moment, we get them in the mood, we get them interested in the story, and then we have the core activity in which we are going to tell the story, read the book of the students, or if you have a video, play the video. So here we are going to, if we think about a book, yeah, that is the most common that we use. We read the story, we give them time to look at the pictures. You can even have them participate in this moment with you. I'm going to give you some tips on how to have this interactive storytelling moment with them, how to have students participate in this moment. And also something that Lynn Cameron suggests in her book is to separate the story moment in two steps. First, you read the whole story, then you go all through the story. And then in a second moment, you read it again, but this time you stop and you ask students questions, or you can ask them to tell you the story. So this is a nice strategy as well, to have first the initial input and then a more collaborative or interactive moment, okay? And to finish, we have the follow-up activity. And these will depend as well on, remember that last question that we had, what new language is used? And then I tell you, it's going to depend on your objective of the story. Your follow-up activity will be very much linked to your initial goal. So if you want them to learn new words, then you're going to have a vocabulary learning moment. You can have them draw a picture. If you just want them to read the story and if you want to check what they're going to get from the story, so they can draw pictures of something that they found important in the story, something they liked. If you want them to use their creativity, oh, what do you think is going to happen in the future now? So that they can write, they can draw like the first page of the continuation of that book, and then you can put things together, they can create a story. If you want them to practice speaking skills, they can role play the story, they can act it out. You can even have a project with them, depending on the story. You can get together with teachers from other areas of your school, with the history teacher, the science teacher, art and music teacher, and make a project and have a project with them. If you have the readers from our material, you see that in the teacher's book, we have lots of suggestions of projects that can be done with the students, and they do help a lot. Yeah? So these are also some examples of the project. Yeah, if you do use the readers, I was the person who wrote the teacher's book. So if you want ideas or if you want help with doing the projects, I'm going to give you my email at the end, and you can surely email me and we can discuss about the project. Okay, I'll be very happy to help you out with them. And also get some feedback on what's working, on what might be good to rethink, okay? All right, so we choose the story, we think about the things we are going to do, the activities we are going to do afterwards, but how is it going to be when we tell the story? How can we guarantee that students actually understand the story? Because this is one of the main difficulties that teachers, that English teachers have when they tell a story 100% in English. Yeah? Are my students going to understand everything? They won't understand every word, but there are things we can do to help them understand the whole context. First, use your voice. So it's kind of like acting. When we are telling a story, when you have different characters, you can make different voices. You can make it like this or make it like this, yeah, so that they know that the characters change. Use facial expressions when they are really happy, when they are sad, when they're scared. So use your face to help them feel the energy of the story. Use mime and gesture. They really like that. Eliciting and asking questions. So while you are reading the story, ask them questions. You can stop at this page and say, so what's going to happen next? Or do you think the character is happy with what happened? Do you think he's sad? How would you feel? Make them put themselves in the character's shoes so that they really feel close to the story. They enter in the story world. Use pauses. It's important to pause and don't rush through things. They need to really enjoy this moment and leave this moment. Use repetition. Remember that I told you that this thing about having repetitive patterns of language helps students also produce this language, and it also helps them understand. Because we say the thing so many times that they start getting familiar with that, and they start making connections to the moments you say this, the moments you say that, and then eventually they understand it better. Pointing to illustrations also help. Let's imagine it's the first time they are exposed to the vocabulary for animals, and then we say lion and we point to the lion. There's no better way of telling them what lion is. Yeah, so pointing to illustrations and showing them, and maintaining eye contact. Okay, it may sound silly, but it is the most important thing, because we all know here, I'm pretty sure that when I asked you to think of the stories that you had in your mind, the memories you had about stories from your childhood, there was something that came. Yeah, a moment of you reading the story, or with a special person reading the story. And we really want students to have this memory with us as well. So maintaining eye contact makes this connection between us and students. And that's why it is also so important to prepare the space and think about how you are going to put them sitting down, if you're going to use a circle, if you're going to use rows. So plan this moment carefully. Don't just, okay, let's read the story, and then you open the book and go. Yeah, this is a moment to plan, to really plan carefully. And like, we are going to use these 8 tips in a task that I'm going to give you later on. So if you want to take a picture of this slide, I am also going to share the screenshot with you in the chat box. But if you prefer to take a picture now with your cell phones, or even take a screenshot, you can do it now. Okay. Now, remember that I told you that students can participate, that they can interact while telling the story. Here are also some tips on how you can do that. So using prompts to help them use English throughout the story, have them participate holistically. So if you're telling a story about, I don't know, a rabbit that is jumping. Oh, so how does the rabbit jump? Show me. And then everybody jumps. Yeah. Oh, how, I don't know, have them really move around. Okay. So have them participate, not just talking, but with movement, with sounds. Yeah, oh, what is the sound of the lion? And everyone, rah! They love that. Okay, Rafa is laughing. I think you're imagining yourself doing that with your students, right, Rafa? Really fun.
Yes, and I am also imagining teachers doing that with the students as well. It's nice, the atmosphere.
Yes,
I like it.
It is amazing. Students will never forget that. Yes, and they will look forward to this moment. Yes, they will say, teacher, do we have a story moment today? Because they will enjoy that. Use realia. If you're talking, I don't know, if you're reading The Very Hungry Caterpillar, bring fruit. Yeah, bring food to class. If you're not familiar with the story, Google it. There is on YouTube videos of The Very Hungry Caterpillar, an amazing, amazing story. Keep them active, okay? There's something that Nancy always says, that when children move, they learn. So they have to be moving all the time, okay? Because they need to move in order to learn. And have them interact with the story. They have such a big imagination. And whenever you say, okay, so now let's say something to the girl here in the book, they will really look at the picture on the book and talk to the character. So have them interact with the story, have them interact with the pictures, with the video that you were using, because they have no problems with that. They are different from us adults that feel weird talking to a picture. They love that. So use puppets to tell us the stories as well, and have them interact with the puppets with pictures, okay? But if you don't have puppets at school, pictures are just fine. They will interact with them, okay? Now, remember that I told you that we were going to have a task with these 8 tips here. And remember that I told you about Carol Reed and how amazing she is? Are you familiar with Carol Reed? Have you ever seen anything from her? No? Okay, so I feel very honored to introduce you to Carol Reed. I'm sure she's going to change your lives. She has this amazing channel on YouTube in which she reads stories. So we learn a lot from how she reads the stories. And then she always makes 2 videos, one in which she reads the story and another one that is dedicated for the teachers, in which she discusses about activities that you can do with the story that she read, okay? This video here is a video of her telling the story that is called Run, Run, Run. And it's about 8 minutes, and I'm very glad that we have the time to do that. So I'm going to play the whole video, and I want you to find in the video the elements that I shared with you about helping students understand the story. And even, let me send the screenshot here. I have just sent in the chat for those of you who didn't have the chance to take a picture, okay? The screenshot is there. And even those 3 moments, remember that I told you the preparation activity, the core activity, and the follow-up activity. So I want you to see if you can find these elements on this video, okay? So let me mute myself. I hope you enjoy.
Hello everyone, I'm Carol. Welcome to Story Time. Our story today is called Run, Run, Run. Can you show me how you run? Yes, on the spot, like this. Run, 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 stop. Very good. There are some animals in the story. I want you to say hello to the animals. Here's the mouse. Hello. Hello, mouse. Yes, very good. Here's the zebra. Hello. Hello, zebra. Lovely. Here's the giraffe. Hello, giraffe. Very good. And here's the elephant. Hello, elephant. Lovely. And here's the parrot. Hello, parrot. Very good. And here's the lion. Hello, lion. Lovely. All the animals are in the story, and the story is called Run, Run, Run. What happens in the story, do you think? Maybe, yes, maybe the animals have a race. And what's that? The little mouse is the winner? That's a lovely idea. Maybe there's a fire in the jungle and the animals run away. And what do you think? Maybe, oh really? Maybe some bad people catch the animals and they escape. What a lot of ideas and possibilities. Let's listen to the story now and find out. And I want you to be ready to answer 3 questions. Number 1, who's eating leaves from the tree? Munch, munch, munch. Number 2, who's coming? Number 3, who can help? Are you ready for the story now? Sitting comfortably, here we go. The giraffe is eating leaves from a tall tree. Munch, munch, munch. But look, the lion is coming. Here's the little mouse. The little mouse is scared and very worried. Giraffe, the lion is coming. Run, run, run. Munch, munch, munch. Oh dear, Giraffe can't hear. Here's the zebra. Maybe he can help. Hello, zebra. Stop. The lion is coming. Please tell Giraffe. Yes, of course. Giraffe, Giraffe, the lion is coming. Run, run, run. Munch, munch, munch. Oh dear, Giraffe can't hear. Here comes the elephant. Maybe he can help. Hello, elephant. Stop. The lion is coming. Please tell Giraffe. Yes, of course. Giraffe, Giraffe, the lion is coming. Run, run, run. Munch, munch, munch. Oh dear, Giraffe can't hear. Here's the parrot. Maybe he can help. Hello, parrot. Stop. The lion is coming. Please tell Giraffe. Oh, that's easy. I can fly. The parrot flies to the top of the tree. Munch, munch, munch. Hello, Giraffe. Listen carefully now. The lion is coming. Run, run, run. Oh, thank you, parrot. Thank you. Here's the lion, and all the animals run just in time. And that's the end of our story. So can you answer the 3 questions? Number 1, who's eating leaves from the tree? The giraffe. Yes, you're right. Number 2, who's coming? The lion. Yes, very good. And number 3, who can help? The parrot. Yes, you're right. So in the story, can the giraffe hear the mouse? Yes or no? No. Can the giraffe hear the zebra? Yes or no? No. Can the giraffe hear the elephant? No. Can the giraffe hear the parrot? Yes or no? Yes. And why? Because the parrot can fly to the top of the tree to tell the giraffe the lion is coming. Do you like the story? You think it's great? You think it's funny? And which is your favourite animal in the story? Is it the giraffe? Is it the mouse? The only animal that can fly in the story is the parrot. What other animals can fly? A duck can fly, for example. A butterfly can fly as well. Can you find the names and draw pictures of 3 animals that can fly and be ready to show and tell your teacher? And that's the end of our story time today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.
I told you she was amazing.
Very lovely.
Yes,
It
it is. It is. So, oops. Okay. Could you find the 8 elements that I told you? Does she use her voice? Let me stop sharing because I want you to see your faces. Does she use her voice?
All the time, and she speaks very slowly to help the students to understand. It's very nice, beautiful.
Yes.
She's
Does she
British,
use?
isn't she? She's British,
She
isn't she?
is.
Yes,
Yes, she is. Does she use facial expressions?
all the time.
All the time. Does she use mime and gesture?
Yes, she does.
Yes, Aninha, the pictures were big enough. Yes, for everyone to see, very clear pictures. Does she elicit? Does she ask questions?
Yes.
Yeah. She asks questions before, during the story, not so much, because remember that I told you that you can separate it in 2 moments. At first, you just read the whole story. Then if you read a second time, you can ask questions while you're reading, but she asks questions before, and then she asks the same questions and more after the story. Does she use pauses? Yes, short ones, but yes. While she changes the picture, she pauses a little bit, she lets them look at the picture. Yeah. Does she use repetition?
Yes, some.
If you think of the characters' lines, they're all the same.
Yeah.
Giraffe, the lion is coming, run, run, run. This is something that students will be able to repeat after you finish the story. Yeah. Oh dear, giraffe can't hear. It's more beautiful with British English. Oh dear, giraffe can't hear. It's lovely. Does she point to the illustrations?
All the time.
All the time. And does she maintain eye contact even through video?
Yes.
Yes, she does. So everything is there. And that's why, like Rafa said, it's so lovely. And we were engaged here. It was adorable for us. Imagine for the little ones. Yeah. Very good. So now I'd like to open, this moment for questions. So is there anything you would like to ask? Any comments?
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
So last week we started in year 1 a story called Blue Cat, Red Cat. And I chose this story because they are fighting a lot, especially 2 of them. And we are talking about colors sometimes. The last unit was about color. And this book is about color because the red cat wants to become a blue cat, and the blue cat wants to become a red cat. And they actually find a new friend, which is a yellow cat. And then in the middle of the story, they hate each other, but actually they want to be each other. So in the end of the story, they discover respect and discover things in common. So I chose this story, but actually it's a long story. So I'm dividing the story in moments and pieces.
Okay.
So I want to ask, and then I really try to have these moments, even if I need to stop the story.
Okay.
So last time we read the story, I asked them, "Do you know what's going to happen next?" And they're like, they're going to fall from the stairs because they were like cats fighting. And they said, okay, we'll discover it tomorrow, or we'll discover next week. And they're like, come on, teacher. And the next day, they asked, hi, teacher, are we going to read the book? And I said, no, not today. They're going to use the book. And so the workbook, And I wanted to know if that is possible, if it's good or not, if we're supposed to read a story like in the same day and finish it the same day.
No, no, I think what you're doing is amazing. Amazing. Yeah. Because there is a purpose why you chose the story, especially because it's something that is happening with the group. Yes. And if the story is long, I think you made the best choice possible, because and make sure you choose well the moments when you're going to stop, because then you have this moment, this that is already happening, that they say, oh, teacher, we're going to read the story today. Yeah. So there is no problem at all. I think you're on the right track. And I'm sure they're loving it. Let me know how it goes, if it helps with the whole situation in class. But the way you were doing sounds perfect to me. Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Sure. Thank you.
Aninha has a question too. I find it hard to read a story completely in English because some kids don't understand. Yes, Aninha, they are not going to understand everything, okay? So maybe it's a matter of you lowering your expectations in terms of everything they understand, and trust them, okay? Because if you use facial expressions, if you use mime and gesture, like I said, although they do not understand every single word, they are going to understand the whole context, okay? And if we find a book that is translate, I wouldn't translate, okay, Anna? I would use only English. But if you have a book that may be too challenging, you can make it simpler, okay? Use the pictures from the book, but then you can adapt how you tell the story. Okay, I wouldn't translate to explain. I would use pictures, I would use realia, but not translation. Okay, I once participated in a workshop for storytelling. It was Claire Venables who gave. I don't know if you know Claire Venables, but she's also a very nice teacher. She knows a lot about storytelling. She's on Instagram. You can follow her as well. And then she gave us an idea of if you have a very long book and you want to tell just a part of the story, you can use only a part of it. You don't have to use it all. Just make sure to hide the other pages from students. You know, you have to practice really well because if they see that there are pages you are not using, they are going to ask, oh, but teacher, what about that page? Yeah, but you can use the pictures from the book and adapt the story. Okay, yeah, I don't like the idea of translating. Okay, and sometimes the insecurity is more from us teachers than from the students. So try it out, see how it goes. If they feel too lost, try again using a simpler language. Okay, but they are capable and they are used to not understanding every single word, because depending on their age, they don't understand everything, even in Portuguese. Okay, so they are okay with not understanding everything in English. There's another question here. Is it good to tell them stories that they know about? Yes, it's Eliana, right? Because it's not Giovanna. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, but I think it's Eliana. Yes,
Yes,
Eliana.
are you sure? I'm Eliana.
Yes. So Eliana, it is okay to tell stories that they already know, and it's even a good thing to do, okay? Because kids love listening to the same story over and over again, because they already know how it's going to end. And even if you have those moments of tension in the story, they are safe because they know things are going to end okay. Things are going to be okay in the end. So that's why they love so much repeated stories. Okay, so if it's a famous story, it's even better because they already know the plot, so they're just going to enjoy this moment, and you can use it for language teaching. Okay, so it's perfectly fine. They're gonna love it.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Anything else? Well, if you don't have questions now, you can email me, okay, if you want to talk later. Here, I'd like to share with you my references, what I used to prepare our session today. So these two articles by Carol Reed, okay, Magic Story Time, and S is for Storytelling. And the book that I actually have it here, let me show you. This is the book that I used, Teaching Languages to Young Learners by Lynn Cameron. All right. So if you're interested in reading more about that. And here's my email. Thank you so much again for being here. It was lovely to be with you all. Please do drop me a line if you want to talk about storytelling, or if you want to discuss about the readers that you have in your material. I'll be really happy to discuss and talk to you about them. All right. Thank you so much one more time.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Fernanda. It was a lovely presentation, and your questions were really relevant. Thank you so much for the questions that you shared with us.
Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Next
guys.
time.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Fernanda. Bye-bye. See you later.